today's training, we're going to be talking about DVIRs, or a Daily Vehicle Inspection Report. Now, what is a DVIR? A DVIR is an inspection on a piece of equipment before and also after use. Here at SandBox, we do inspections and DVIRs on every piece of equipment. The way that we fill out our DVIRs is on your mobile device on an app called Samsara. During this training, we're going to be talking about how to fill in DVIRs on your smartphone and also how to submit them. DVIRs are important to complete on every piece of equipment so that we can catch the small things before they become big things. Now, we're going to walk through how to fill out and submit a DVIR on the Samsara app. In order to complete a DVIR on the Samsara app, you must first download the application on your mobile device or tablet. Once downloaded, you will open the app and see the sign-in screen, which is shown here. You will enter your username and password, and then the app will prompt you to assign a vehicle. Here we will sign in and start the process of a DVIR. Once you sign in using your username and password, the Samsara app will prompt you to select a vehicle and/or trailer. For this particular DVIR, we will be doing a forklift and a mobile office. We will type in the type of unit in which we are trying to complete a DVIR for. We are using the Taylor 550M forklift for this. As you can see, it has prompted us that another driver is currently using this. We will now assign it to ourselves. This may pop up from time to time. However, if you are doing the DVIR inspection on the unit, you can switch the assignment at this time to yourself. Next, we will add the trailer. Again, for this particular DVIR, we will be doing a mobile office or a doghouse. When selecting your equipment while doing a DVIR, trucks, tractors, and forklifts will all be selected in the vehicle section. All other equipment, whether it be trailers, doghouses, stands, or any other type of equipment, will be selected in the trailer section. Now that we have assigned both our forklift and doghouse, it will prompt us to a new home screen. Now we will click the DVIR button. Here you will also see all of your past submitted DVIRs. We will then create a new DVIR, and we will pick which unit we will be completing the first DVIR on. For this DVIR, we will be doing the forklift first. As you can see, this is all of the information that needs to be entered in. Again, you will want to make sure that the correct forklift number as well as VIN is in this screen. Next, you will pick the location. Type in the well site or well name. Next is the license plate number and odometer. Your odometer for forklifts will be the hours. Next, you will pick what type of inspection, whether it is a pre-trip or a post-trip. Next, we will add all of our walk-around pictures. Again, when taking these pictures, be sure to do a full walk-around of the forklift, taking pictures of both the back and the front and both sides of the forklift. Use your camera on your mobile device to take pictures while you do your walk-around and inspection. Be sure to add pictures of the unit that you are inspecting today. Do not use pictures from older units or past days. However, for training purposes, I am using pictures from my library for this training. While doing your DVIR, be sure to add as many pictures as possible. Add pictures of any defects that are noted in the DVIR, as well as any other pertinent information that may need to be seen by management. Once all of the pictures are added, we can work our way down. Here you can see that there is a previous defect on this forklift. However, if that defect has not been resolved, do not resolve it and make sure that it is still on the report. Next, we will go to the Add New Vehicle Defects section. This section will pull up a list of different items that need to be inspected. As you can see, I will now scroll through the list so that you can see all of the different items that you can choose from. This list of items is a good tool to use during your inspection. You can follow along and check all of the different things that it asks for. Be sure to check all of the items that are in the list. And if you notice any defects, click the item and add a picture of the defect. Also, be sure to add as much detail as possible about the defect. During the course of your inspection, if you identify any defects that are not listed on this list, be sure to use the Other tab and add a picture and description of the defects found. For this particular DVIR, we will choose Other as our defect. We will then add in what we found as the defect, as well as add a picture. For this training, we will click Other and add a defect. We will add a picture of the defect that we found from our library. We will also enter in all information that we can about the defect. Once you have added all of the information and the picture, click Done. You will then see that it will add our defect found onto the DVIR. Next, you will choose the safety status of the piece of equipment. Here, if no defects are found, you can click Safe to Drive. Or, if there are minimal defects found and they do not affect the safe operation of the piece of equipment, you can also click Safe to Drive. If there are multiple or major defects found on the piece of equipment and it affects the safe operation of the equipment, you will then need to click Unsafe to Drive. This will then put the piece of equipment out of service. Once you have chosen a safety status, you will then click Next. It will then prompt you to certify and submit. Here is where you want to confirm that everything is correct. Once submitted, you will be able to see your DVIR in your DVIR list. We will now want to create a new DVIR for our doghouse. We will now select Create New DVIR and we'll create a DVIR for the doghouse or mobile office. Here you can see that we add the same information, putting the pad name as well as the license plate, which is the unit number. For the mobile offices, they do not have an odometer or hours. We will then want to add all pictures of all sides and the inside of the mobile office. Here you can see that there were previous defects found on this mobile office. Again, do not resolve an unresolved defect on a DVIR. If it has not been fixed, leave it on there to be resolved at a later date. Now we will click the Add New Defects section. Again, this will pull up a list of all of the items that need to be inspected on the mobile office. Again, we will add any defects that we find during the course of our inspection. Once all defects have been noted, click Done to proceed to the next section. Next, we will click the safety status for the mobile office. Again, if there are minimal defects found and the mobile office can be safely used, you can click Safe to Drive. If there are any major defects or safety hazards with the mobile office, you will click Unsafe and will put the unit out of service. Once you have selected a safety status, click Next. You will then be asked to submit and certify. Once all DVIRs have been uploaded into the Samsara app, you will go back to the main home screen. This home screen, you can either change your vehicle or do another post-trip inspection. Once all DVIRs have been completed and have been uploaded, you will sign out of the Samsara app. You will do this by clicking the box with the arrow in the top right corner. Be sure that you are 100% signed out. Once everything is complete, you will make sure that you sign 100% out of the Samsara app. The reason for this is to allow other users that are attempting to assign equipment to themselves to complete DVIRs, they are able to transfer the equipment as long as you are signed out. If you are still signed in and have the equipment assigned to you, they are not able to transfer it to themselves and complete a DVIR. So once again, always sign out of Samsara once your DVIR is complete. Now that you've been walked through how to fill out and submit a DVIR on the Samsara app, we're going to do a couple walkarounds around a couple different pieces of equipment to kind of show you what the process looks like. Now again, these are quick walkarounds and they are not a full DVIR inspection. During a full DVIR inspection, be sure to check everything that's listed on the defects list for that piece of equipment. Be sure to look at all small things and note any defects that are found. Now, please watch these videos on the walk-around process for each piece of equipment.
So today we're going to talk about DVIRs, or a daily vehicle inspection report. Now, these are to be done at the start of every shift. I just completed mine by entering it in to Samsara on my phone or tablet if that's what you have. Now again, we always want to make sure that we have the key on our person prior to starting the inspection. Also, you never want to approach a forklift if the forks aren't on the ground. So what I'm going to do today is walk through what an inspection looks like and what you're going to be doing. Now again, this training will show you how to enter this on Samsara. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to want to inspect the mast and the forks. Always start at the bottom and work your way up. So the first thing we'll want to inspect here is our fork condition. Make sure that there's no tears, breaks, or just gouging in the forks. Then we'll come here and look at our inner channel bearings. Make sure that there's no broken bearings or anything inside of there. Next, we'll work our way up to the roller bearings and the forks on the mast. We want to make sure that they're well greased. So during your inspections, this is a good time to grease the forklift. We want to make sure that every grease cert on this forklift gets 2 to 3 pumps of grease at least every 2 days. So make sure that you're greasing your forklift and writing it in your DVIR as well. Now, as we work our way up, we're going to continue to check the mast. We'll look right here at our lift chains and make sure that there's no breakage or anything in the chains. As we make our way around here, we'll check the hydraulic lines, make sure there's no leaks or broken lines. Now again, if you ever see any damage or tears on any of the hydraulics or any of the other pieces of equipment on the forklift, make sure that you note it in your DVIR and also take a picture and attach it on the Samsara app. As we make our way to the tire, we'll check the general tire condition. Make sure that there's no heavy gouging or tears in the sidewall. We'll then make our way down here to the hub, and we'll want to make sure that all of our lug nuts are on here, as well as all of the pins. Make sure that everything's tight as well. Next, we'll work our way into the cab. We want to make sure that our cab's always clean and free of any mud or debris. One of the biggest issues that we've seen in the past is that the brake can get clogged up with mud. So, to prevent this, make sure that your cab is always clean. As we continue to work our way back here, we'll want to check the engine box. Basically what we're going to check in here for is any leaks or anything like that. We'll also want to check the belt condition. Make sure that the belt is in good condition with no tears. As we make our way further back here, we'll check the steer tire condition. Same as in the front, we'll want to make sure that there's no heavy gouging or tears in the sidewall. We'll also want to check our lug nuts and pins, make sure that they're all tight and staying in place. Again, if you're ever missing a lug nut or a pin, make sure that you put this unit out of service. All lug nuts need to be tightened on this unit. Now we'll make our way to the back of the forklift. So as we make our way to the back, we'll want to check our steer axle. This is one of the most important parts on this forklift. We want to make sure that it's always in good condition. You'll always want to check this hydraulic cylinder here to make sure that it's in good working order. Again, you always want to look for any shiny metal or damages to this area. There's also multiple grease zerks on this steer axle, so make sure that these are all getting greased properly and in a timely fashion. Again, your grease zerks are pretty much going to be where there's any moving parts. As we make our way around, we'll go ahead and check this tire condition as well. So again, as we make our way around here, we're going to check this tire condition, make sure there's no heavy gouging or tears in the sidewall. Same thing with the lug nuts, making sure they're all tight and in place. Again, if there's ever one missing, make sure that you put the unit out of service. As we make our way to the other side of the engine, we'll open up the engine compartment. In here, we're going to find our oil dipstick and our transmission dipstick. So make sure that we're checking those to make sure that we're not losing fluids. Another good way to see if you're losing fluids from your forklift is to actually look underneath. You're going to want to look for puddles or any type of spillage that you may see. This could be a good sign that you're losing fluids. However, you want to make sure that you never remove such things that could be under pressure, like a radiator cap or anything like that. If you don't know what it is, don't touch it. Ask your supervisor for help or get a mechanic out there. You also never want to remove anything if it could be hot. As we make our way around a little bit more, you'll see our hydraulic stuff. All we want to check here is just making sure that there's no leaks. Again, as we get up to our next tires, we'll check this, make sure that tires are in good condition, and that all of our lug nuts are here, not missing, and are tight. Now that we've made our way around the entire forklift, we should have filled out our entire DVIR in Samsara. Also, make sure that you take pictures so that we see and can identify what the issues are that you're seeing on location. Now that I've completed my DVIR, I'm going to put my phone in the mobile office so that I can start operations with the forklift.
Here is the full list of defects for this piece of equipment from the DVIR in the Samsara app. Please feel free to pause this video at any time to familiarize yourself with this list. If any defects are ever found that are not on this list, please add them under the Other section.
This is our SandBox retrofitted riser. Now it's important to do a proper pre-shift check and to complete a DVIR in Samsara on this unit before you start your shift on location. Again, doing a pre-job inspection for any of our risers or stands is very important to our operations because we want to make sure that our equipment isn't going to go down in the middle of the job. So always inspect everything and make sure that it's up to where it needs to be. Also, you always want to check these before they leave the yard and go to location. We want to make sure that all parts that are necessary for operation are installed or come out to location with this unit. Now, just like we have with the other pieces of equipment, I'm going to run through a quick check on what you guys need to be looking at during your pre-shift check and how to complete the DVIR on Samsara. Again, as with all of our other pieces of equipment, we'll start off by taking pictures of the front, and eventually we'll get the back and the side. Now, we always want to start with each station. One thing that you want to ensure that is always around the riser is the remote control. Again, you want to check to make sure that this remote control works properly with the unit that you're working on. So the first thing you want to check is that all 3 stations' slide gate actuators are working properly. Again, you can do that by turning on the generator, turning on the riser, and using this remote here. Again, make sure that they go to the full open position as well as the full closed. The next thing you're going to want to check is that our vibrators are working on this unit. Once you check that with the remote, you can turn off the unit and put the remote away for further operations once we get your shift started. So as we're looking at this riser, we want to look at a few different things. We first want to make sure that the catwalk underneath is clear of any debris and that it doesn't have any big pieces of metal or anything sitting on top of it. Next, you'll want to check your landing gear. Again, make sure that it's turned up correctly and that the pins are installed properly. Again, we have a training that teaches you how to install the landing gear. If you have not yet seen that, please reference that for installation of the landing gear. Next, we'll walk over to our chutes. We'll want to again check our chutes to make sure that first that they're installed. As you can see here, we've installed one chute on the left-hand side and we've left it off on the right. Again, anytime that you install a chute, be sure to have your gasket in between the chute and the riser. Also ensure that it's properly installed. Again, we don't want to leak sand on the ground, so we try to minimize that by using gaskets and things like that. Next, we'll continue to walk, looking at our riser conditions, making sure that there's no breaks in any of the welds or that there's no major dents. Again, if there are any cracks in the welds or dents in the metal, that's something that we want to note on our DVIR as a defect. Next, we'll just work our way down, again making sure that all lines don't have any frays and are connected properly. As we work our way over to station 3, we'll see I've set out some riser collars brackets. These can be installed to increase the height of each of the stations. But again, if you use one of these, make sure that it's the correct size and that all the bolt holes are filled with bolts. Again, make sure that you're using the proper size of collar that's needed. Do not stack collar brackets on top of each other. Lastly, we'll continue checking, making sure that there's no excess debris, anything like that. We also want to check all the hydraulic lines and make sure that there's no major leaks and that all the pans are clear of any possible leaks. Also making sure that our equipment box here that stores all of our spare parts and motors is always closed. We want to prevent any sand from going into there. So please make sure that during operations, this box is always closed. Again, any parts or anything that you may need on location are going to be stored in this blue box that's located on almost all of our risers and stands. Lastly, you'll want to check your connection and your wire to your generator. Again, all retrofitted risers use a generator. Though the generator is a rented piece of equipment, we also want to check its condition and make sure that it's in proper working order and that it turns on and stays on during operation. Again, continue to always check your risers and note any defects in Samsara. Again, I'll finish off by taking my last couple pictures. And as always, complete my DVIR in Samsara. Once I'm complete, I'll sign out of Samsara and start my shift.
Here is the full list of defects for this piece of equipment from the DVIR in the Samsara app. Please feel free to pause this video at any time to familiarize yourself with this list. If any defects are ever found that are not on this list, please add them under the Other section.
Drivers and operators are always required to do a proper pre-trip and post-trip inspection, as well as fill out their DVIR and submit it through Samsara. What we're going to do today is go over a quick inspection over a DOT tractor and trailer. Now, all DOT drivers are required to fill out a DVIR prior to getting on the road, as with our operators with any other piece of equipment. What we're going to do is we're going to go over a quick inspection and upload it into our Samsara app on our cell phone. Now, most pre-trip inspections should take anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. We're going to hit the highlights on this one and just go over things you should look at. So the first thing we're going to want to do is take a picture of our cab, as well as a picture of our trailer, so that we can upload it into Samsara. Next, we're going to come check the engine compartment. When you're checking the engine compartment, you want to make sure that all your fluid levels are at an acceptable level, as well as there are not any leaks or breaks on the axle. You also want to make sure to check your tire condition for your steer tires and also your hubs to make sure there's no leaking. Again, when you're performing a pre and post trip, don't be afraid to get dirty and get underneath to check the condition. Next, as you work your way down the truck, always be inspecting your frame, tire condition. Make sure that all of your tires are in good condition, as well as inflated to the proper amount. Here you're going to want to check your air lines, make sure there's no cracks, tears, anything like that. Also be sure to be checking all of your lights underneath, and also make sure that there's not any excessive mud on your tractor trailer. And we'll take a picture of the back of the tractor as well. Next, we'll work our way back to our box. Again, always check that your slide gate is closed and that all 4 twist locks are locked. Lastly, as you make your way to the rear of the trailer, again, you're going to want to check the same thing with your tires. Make sure that they're in good condition and that they're aired up to the proper level. Also, make sure to check your ladder condition. Make sure there's no cracks or breaks and that it can be used during your operations in the field. Make sure to check your brake system, your suspension system, and also both axles. You're also going to want to check to make sure that you check the lug nuts on all of your tires to make sure that they're tight and that all of them are in place. Now, as you make your way to the rear of the trailer, you're going to want to take another picture and put it in Samsara, as well as check your light conditions, make sure that mud flaps are installed, and that everything is in good working order. As you make your way up the passenger side of the tractor trailer, we want to first make sure to take a picture of the passenger side of the trailer. We'll then make our way to the trailer axle and make sure that we check the same stuff that we did on the opposite side. Checking tire condition, lug nuts, the brake system, suspension system, and also just our overall condition of the trailer. Again, like I said before, don't be afraid to get dirty and get under there and make sure that your trailer is in good working order prior to use. Next, we'll also want to make sure that there's not any excess of mud over our DOT tape or any lights. Now we'll make sure to get up to our box. We'll check all 4 twist locks again, making sure that all of them are locked and secured, as well as making sure that our slide gate is closed. As we make our way to the rear of the tractor, we'll want to also take a picture and check the lights as well. Make sure mud flaps are in place. And now we'll check the tire condition and the drive axles. Again, checking the same thing we do with all the axles: the suspension system, the brakes, lug nuts, and our overall air level on all tires. Make sure that they're inflated to the proper level as shown either in the truck or on the side of the tire. As you make your way up to the side of your tractor, We'll want to check the battery door, as well as any mirrors, making sure that all of their condition is in good working order and there are no defects. Again, we're noting all defects that we find on the Samsara app. So make sure that anything that you find, that we're adding pictures and putting as much information into the app as possible. As we make our way to the opposite side of the engine compartment, we'll again check our levels, checking coolant level, your fan condition, belts, as well as your steer tire and steer axle. Whenever you've completed your inspection on your engine compartment, you'll want to make sure to release the safety bar so that you can put the hood down. Once the hood is down, we'll take a picture of the front of the tractor to upload into Samsara. Again, when you complete these inspections, be sure to note all defects that you find. What we're going to do with this tractor, since we did not find any defects, is we'll mark it as safe to drive on the Samsara app, and we'll finish our inspection. Once you've finished your inspection, be sure to upload it and make sure that it says completed. Once your DVIR has been uploaded, you can then sign out of your Samsara app. Lastly, we want to make sure that we lock down our tractor to make sure that the hood doesn't come up during transport. Again, this was a short overview of an inspection. Again, make sure that any inspection that you do, that you're checking all conditions. The time frame on a typical inspection on a tractor and trailer should be around 10 to 20 minutes.
Here is the full list of defects for this piece of equipment from the DVIR in the Samsara app. Please feel free to pause this video at any time to familiarize yourself with this list. If any defects are ever found that are not on this list, please add them under the Other section.
So now we're going to be talking about doing a pre-shift inspection on a crew truck. So again, we're going to enter our DVIR into Samsara, just like we have with all of the other units. Again, we're going to take the necessary pictures and upload them into Samsara. Now what we're going to do is walk around the truck, make sure that there aren't any defects, and make sure that it's safe to drive. Again, as with any of our pieces of equipment that have engines, we always want to check the fluids, check all belts, fans, air filters, make sure that everything's intact and nothing's leaking. Next, we'll want to always check our tire condition. Again, checking all lug nuts and making sure that the tire, there isn't any excessive wear and that it's fully inflated to where it needs to be. Next, we'll continue our walk around, checking the windshield, all the windows around the truck, making sure that there's no major cracks or any damage. We'll also want to check the mirrors at this time to make sure that there's no damage on those as well. Next, and one of the most important things, is cleanliness on the inside. We always want to check to make sure that the inside of the truck is clean, doesn't have trash or anything like that on the inside. Again, these are your crew trucks. These are what you guys have to drive to location. Make sure they're clean. Take some pride in them. So, we'll once again check the back seat, and then also we'll start checking the tires on the back axle. One important thing to always check is the back of your truck. We want to make sure that there's no loose debris or anything that could fly out when driving down the lease road. Again, we want to take a picture, making sure that your truck's still in good condition, all lights are working, and everything is operational. Next, we're going to walk around to the passenger side and check that. So as we make our way to the passenger side, we'll again take our next picture and upload that into Samsara as well. Also checking tires, lug nuts, back of this side of the truck. Again, checking for cleanliness, making sure there's no major trash or or dirt, dust, anything like that. Same with here. We'll also want to make sure when we check inside that all paperwork is in the glove box and is there just in case you need it. Also the mirrors and our tire. Lastly, we'll come around, take a picture of this side. Also making sure that the license plate and all lights are working properly. We'll close our hood. And now that we've completed our DVIR, we'll go ahead and upload that into Samsara. Again, always make sure that it's complete in Samsara before you sign out. Once you've completed your DVIR, we can head to location.
Here is the full list of defects for this piece of equipment from the DVIR in the Samsara app. Please feel free to pause this video at any time to familiarize yourself with this list. If any defects are ever found that are not on this list, please add them under the Other section. Now that you've seen the process to fill out a DVIR in Samsara, as well as what the walk-around process looks like for the inspection, you should be able to submit your own DVIR through Samsara. Again, if you ever have any questions, be sure to reach out to your supervisor for assistance. And again, anytime you're doing a DVIR, be sure to note as many defects that you find and attach as much information as possible, as well as pictures of the defect. Thank you.